Commission beyond the 28th of February, and Minister Roderic O'Gorman is here to deal with this. Deputy Neave-Smith, please.
Thank you, Cancora. Minister, thank you for coming here this afternoon and facilitating our discussion on the Commission for Mother and in particular the legal lifetime of the Commission, which is due to conclude on the 28th of February. The report from the Commission reveals a very dark and disturbing chapter in our history, a history which none of us should ever forget, a piece of our history that should be recorded and archived to ensure that those 550 testimonials which make up the vast majority of survivor evidence is retained and protected. Minister, I appreciate and am aware that you have written to the Commission in respect of the audio recordings and tapes that are allegedly destroyed on the premises that they promised the survivors to remain anonymous. But you and I both know that that was not the understanding of the survivors. The Commission says they made it clear to survivors that records would be destroyed, but you and I both know, Minister, that that information on the leaflet presented to survivors, that there was no reference to the destruction of tapes at all, and that the records would be destroyed. And to be fair, Minister, how could you preempt records would be destroyed? When Section 43 of the 2004 Commission of Investigation Act clearly states that every piece of evidence gathered by a Commission of Investigation shall be transferred to the relevant minister. Therefore, how could you expect or even imagine that this might happen? Therefore, nobody could anticipate that the Commission of Investigation would breach that clear commitment and destroy evidence without the permission of those who gave it. The Commission never said that they would keep a transcript of what survivors would say and their evidence to be destroyed. They never said either that their evidence would be destroyed without a full transcript. Minister, I do not believe that in this day and age, a day and age of technology at its best, that evidence cannot be retrieved. It must be retrieved. Therefore, I believe that we must extend the legal lifetime of the Commission. But we must remember that the survivors have rights, and under GDPR their data rights have been breached. And for that reason alone, we must act now and extend the lifetime of the Commission. And that is what the state at the very least owes them, the transparency that they deserve. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Smith. Minister O'Gorman.
Thank you, Count Corlin. Thank you to the Deputy for raising this extremely important matter. I want to say at the outset that I understand the anger of survivors regarding the deletion of tapes. For a long time, they've felt that their voices haven't been heard, and this action is compounding that anger and frustration. I'm aware of recent calls for the timeframe of the Commission to be extended to enable it to deal with concerns relating to the audio recordings made by the Confidential Committee. The Commission is independent in its operation. They have said that each witness at the Confidential Committee was given a guarantee of complete anonymity, and it was for this reason that tapes were deleted. The Commission has repeatedly stated that this process and the associated actions were carried out with the knowledge of survivors. However, and I think the Deputy referred to this, it is clear that some survivors do not share that view. Since the concerns about the deletion of the audio tape was brought to my attention, I've engaged intensively with the Attorney-General, with the Data Protection Commissioner and with the Commission of Investigations on this point. I'm working to achieve a solution that ensures that survivors' voices are heard. As I stated to the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Children earlier this week, on the 8th of February, I wrote to the Commission of Investigation asking them to ascertain if the deleted recordings could be retrieved. The Commission replied to me on this Tuesday stating, and I quote, "It seems we are unable to retrieve the recordings." However, I am engaging further with the Commission so I can conclusively ascertain whether there are any available technical solutions which may allow the retrieval of the missing data, and this engagement is ongoing. When the issue of the deleted audio files was raised, I asked my officials to examine how the right to rectification under Article 16 of the GDPR could be applied as a mechanism to address the issue of deleted tape recordings. This gives data subjects the right to have incomplete personal data about themselves completed, including by means of providing a supplementary statement. This is one of a number of GDPR rights that survivors of the mother and baby institutions are entitled to. When the Commission dissolves, its archive will transfer to my department. I know from my engagement with survivors how important access to information is, and particularly access to personal information within the archive. Last October, the Attorney-General clarified that when the archive transfers to my department, the rights of GDPR apply. This was an important development and opens up the possibility of survivors being able to access crucial personal information in the archive. My officials are preparing intensively for the Department's role in relation to the management of the archive, and we're committed to having robust processes in place for managing these information access requests in full compliance with the GDPR. And we've worked with the Data Protection Commissioner and sought advice from the Attorney-General and external data protection experts on this point. While I am and remain open to exploring all avenues that will best serve survivors, at this point it is not clear that an additional time for the Commission will necessarily assist in this regard. In practical terms, the Commission has now commenced the initial process of transferring its records to my department. If the Commission was extended, with the archive transferring to my department as suggested, it's difficult to see how the Commission could engage with any further investigation if it did not have access to its own records. If the legislation for an extension with the archive remained with the Commission, this would mean the Commission would stay on as data controller. It would make decisions on subject access requests, which it has always denied up to this point. The possibility of an extension also raises complex legal questions. I'm engaging with the Attorney-General on these specific matters. It's unclear how a proposed extension could overcome the complex legal matters associated with such a move, or indeed how best survivors could be served, particularly those who seek access to the Commission's archive. A decision on further action will be informed by the ongoing urgent engagement that's taking place with the Commission, the Data Protection Commissioner and the Attorney-General, and I'm happy to update the Deputy and the House on any further developments.
Thank you very much, Minister O'Gorman. Deputy Smith.
Thank you very much for your very comprehensive answer, Minister, here today. I still go back to the fact about Section 43 of the 2004 Commission of Investigations, and that commitment is there that all information gathered would be kept as evidence, and I think it's a very basic and simple principle that we would all understand commissions of investigation to operate on. I appreciate that you have written and await the advice of the AG's office in relation to this. However, we must remember the human life story who the survivors themselves who are listening to this debate, who feel further anxiety, hurt, piled on top of them after a number of years of waiting for a conclusion to all of this. And of course, I suppose the positive aspect of this is the transfer of those archives to your department, that people can finally access their details. However, Minister, I would have to say I do think it is really difficult to understand how this particular Commission of Investigation could think for 1 second that the destruction of records, the deletion of evidence could be in any way appropriate or helpful in terms of what this Commission was trying to achieve. I just cannot reconcile that in my head, how professionals at that level could think for 1 second that that would be acceptable. And I would appeal to you, Minister, there are still a number of days until the 28th of February, and I appreciate you're getting the legal advice that's necessary for this, but let's not cause any more hurt unnecessarily to the survivors. And if if we have clear and concrete answers in terms of retrieving that information, in terms of retrieving that evidence and those records, well then I'm sure survivors will be happy to move on with the next stage. But in the absence of that, and in the absence of that information, Minister, I would ask you to continue to work night and day, as I know you are, to ensure that they have that transparency.
Thank you. Deputy Smith. Minister, to conclude.
Thank you, Count Corlett. Well, Deputy, I'm acutely aware of the very human stories and the very real upset that this has caused to survivors, and I've engaged and continue to engage with survivors. And My absolute priority is to see if there is a technical solution to seek to achieve and retrieve that information, those recordings, and that's what we're looking at the moment, and that's what we're engaging, and we're going to continue to engage intensively with the Commission on that particular point to see if we can retrieve data. In the event that that doesn't manifest, we are looking at that right to rectification and the potential right for each survivor to be able to ensure that there is a statement of their testimony on the record of the Commission's archive to again ensure that their voice is heard. But I also want to emphasise what I see was that fundamental policy shift that we saw last October in terms of the access, GDPR access to the archive, and the thousands and tens of thousands of former residents of mother and baby institutions and county institutions, their ability to submit subject access requests to get that essential life information, that early life information that they've been denied for so long. And I am incredibly reluctant to take any action which I feel will delay the ability of survivors to start to use those mechanisms under GDPR. And I think that has to be borne in mind in our considerations as well. And I know you recognise that as well. So look, as I say, there is work ongoing on all elements of this as regards a technical solution, as regards rectification, and looking at the wider question of what is feasible in terms of an extension. It is difficult, it is a complex question, but all elements continue to be examined.
Thank you very